Today we're beginning our 8th and final week on the attributes of God, or what God is like. And our theme this week is that God is abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. So we'll be hearing that theme throughout this week. I'm starting with just a couple verses from Psalm 25. I don't want to say it's one of my favorite Psalms because I have about 30 favorite Psalms. But Psalm 25 is a prayer for both deliverance and guidance. And in verses 6 and 7, it says this: "Be mindful of your mercy, O Lord, and of your steadfast love, for they have been from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me, for your goodness' sake, O Lord." Just in these brief verses, we can hear several of the attributes of God that we've been talking about. It begins again, be mindful of your mercy, which we talked about last week, and of your steadfast love. And mercy and steadfast love, in that word, Hebrew word hesed, again, are kind of all wrapped up into one. And you notice that David says that God's mercy and steadfast love have been from of old. They've always been there. And then in verse 7, it's really a confession where David says, don't remember the sins of my youth, or basically the transgressions of my past. And this is an important point to me. None of us want God to remember everything we did wrong, all right? And in the same way, we need to make sure we don't hold other people in sin. That we only think of people according to the worst thing they've ever done, the worst thing they've ever said, and we never let that person forget it. There were two husbands who were talking about their marriages and communicating with their wives, and the one husband said to the other, he said, geez, every time my wife and I have an argument, she gets historical. And his friend said, don't you mean hysterical? And he said, no, historical. She reminds me of everything I ever did wrong. Well, that's not the way to have a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship. And just as we don't want God to remember us and to see us through the lenses of our transgressions and sins, we don't want to see other people that way. David says, according to your steadfast love, remember me, for your goodness' sake, O Lord. God is good, merciful, abounding in steadfast love. That's how we want God to remember us. And at the same time, that's how we should remember one another. God be with you this day.